All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm Rob Chambers, the VP of Product here at Lightspeed. And joining me today is Matt Berg and Kate McDermott. We'll be talking about part one of our product roadmap. We used to do these in a single session, but we have so many exciting things to talk about across the product base now that we have now split these into two. So thank you for joining us and hope you will join us in the second session as well. Little blurb on confidentiality here. Please remember all of this is proprietary and confidential, and it is subject to change. So this is a roadmap. These are things we are planning on, some of the things we are working on, but we always want to be reactive to things going on in the education environment. And sometimes that means that our plans need to change. So these are not a commitment, but we'll continue to move forward. All right, already mentioned this, but welcome today to Kate and Matt joining me, and they will be talking about their specific products. Today we're going to talk about a new product that some of you hopefully have heard about, and the rest of you will get a peek at today. That's Lightspeed Signal. This is our newest product that just officially launched into general availability this week. It's been in beta for a while. Some of you are probably participants in that beta program, but it is now generally available. We're also going to talk about Filter, Insight, and MDM. And then a few other things with kind of the Beyond products. And then remember, we will be doing a part two with the remaining products that hopefully you will join us for as well. When we look at our product roadmap, our focus is on helping you solve challenges. So we look at, we talk to a lot of you in webinars and face-to-face events, in one-on-one discussions, and our team takes those and listens to those challenges, and that really is what drives our roadmap every day. And so this is a changing environment, especially right now. With the things going on in education, that makes it exciting on the roadmap side of things, because it's a little challenging and gives us some things to consider. And I know these are just challenges that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. New changes in compliance, new changes around budgeting. How do you ensure you're keeping up with safety and security? And this is what really has moved us forward. And as we think about our roadmap, looking for new ways to help you solve those challenges. Kate, yeah. So when we look at this, couple of these are things that we were hearing very, very commonly in our meetings with customers. And we don't need to read all the words on the screen word for word here, but challenges like students sharing devices and knowing where did that device end up, because it's assigned to Rob, but for some reason Matt has it today. As we look at device refresh and budget challenges, and are you looking to extend the life of your fleet, and which devices can be extended, which ones are being used, which ones are not and could possibly be redeployed. How do you save time and know where the problems are when an app you depend on is having challenges? Oftentimes the first IT hears about it is when teachers start calling in to say, hey, is Canvas down, or is Google down, or what's going on? And now, as the IT team, you have to spend time troubleshooting. Is that a problem here? Is that a problem everywhere? The everything we do now in education is dependent on access to the internet. And so are you getting the full return on that, the capacity? The kind of random thing, we even hear it here. Oh, the internet is slow today. Well, what does that mean? And how do you start to actually troubleshoot those things? And so we took these things together, and I'm going to turn it over to Kate now, and she's going to talk about Lightspeed Signal, which is an area where we've been innovating and very excited to launch this new product to help solve some of these specific challenges.
Thank you, Rob. Lightspeed Signal, I'm very happy to announce has launched. So it's generally available. We talked a little bit about this, teased it on the last webinar, but it's finally here. And like Rob mentioned, we really listened to all of you, heard what your challenges are today. As Rob said, those were always changing and evolving, and so we want to make sure we're always with you and hearing what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis and trying to make that easier. So Signal was designed with all of you to bring insights into our platform around device, network, and app issues. I'm going to actually go through each of those things separately and kind of give you um, both an idea of what some of the problems were that we were hearing from our customers on the IT side, and then how Signal is going to solve those problems. So starting with devices, we really, this is kind of how it all started, talking to you and you guys actually coming to us and saying, hey, we need more insight into this problem or that problem. Is this something that you could help with? Some of those examples are the first bullet around tracking devices changing hands. This came up in almost every conversation we had in the fall. We were doing our research that there was a problem, a consistent problem where, you know, all Chromebooks kind of look the same, and somebody would grab the wrong one. A sibling would grab the wrong computer. A principal might hand out a computer to a different student over the summer, and then the round tripping to the asset management system wasn't taking place. So whenever an issue came about, it was really hard and time consuming for IT to figure out who actually had the device. This is something that came up, like I said, time and time again. That was a huge issue that no current solution could really solve. It involved a lot of jumping around to try to figure out who had what. Reducing wasted resources is always top of mind for districts, but especially now, it's more important than ever before to know which devices are actually being used. An example a client gave us last week was, how many devices do I have sitting under someone's bed that could be reallocated to a different school where somebody needs a new device or just doesn't need to be refreshed. Students accessing VPNs, proxies, and Tors. So this was something that was kind of too little, too late, where IT would find out after there was an incident and needed some more proactive insight into when these things were happening. And then lastly, um, you know, there are so many systems with just disparate data around devices, your asset management system, your MDM, Google Admin Console, and having to hear about an issue and then like jump into all these different systems to try to piece something together with everything else on IT's plate is just something that folks really, don't have time for. And so that's what this device's part of Signal is designed to help with. It's going to bring all of the insights I just mentioned into one place. So you're going to know when Matt stole Rob's computer, when there's a sibling swap, when there's a sibling swap, when you'll be able to see anytime really that a user in your org who is not the assigned user is on a device. We're going to let you know. You'll be able to see which devices are inactive, whether that's been a day, 6 months. You'll be able to identify those devices quickly and also see those by school or OU group. So you can say, okay, we have 100 devices at this one school site that just haven't been used. Can we reallocate these somewhere else? Knowing about VPN, proxy, and Tor access right away, you don't have to wait until there's an incident. You're going to be able to come in here and see, hey, a kid tried to access a proxy. Here's who the kid was. Here's what time it was. It was this IP address. Here's the location of the IP address. So being able to have all that information at your fingertips and not have to jump around to try to solve that problem. And then again, having it all in one place. So not only are you going to be able to see, hey, yeah, I have these however many issues there are, depending on the size of your district, but also being able to troubleshoot and look at every device profile, see who's on the device, what time they were on the device, to really understand and be able to solve the problem in addition to knowing that there is a problem.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to highlight on the VPN proxy access, because obviously we have Matt on and he's going to talk about the filter, which is going to block those things when the attempt is made. But one of the things that is, different about Signal is it's going to show you the kids that are putting those VPN proxy apps on their device and attempting to use them in different ways. So it's a kind of combined effort. The filter shows you what's happening at the gateway or at that internet traffic that's going out, but the but Signal is going to show you like what's happening on the device and are they attempting to use these tools there locally to give you that full picture.
Thanks, Rob. That's a great point. All right, so apps. This is something that I'll start with kind of an example of something that happened to two of our customers 2 weeks ago, which was that during AP testing, the testing app went down. These are districts in different parts of the country. They actually hadn't talked about this issue, so they were both separately having the same problem, which was that an app went down. They weren't able to get a hold of the vendor to even understand if the issue was on the vendor side or on their side. And obviously during testing season, that's a very critical time. You've got a very specific window that you need kids on a specific application. And that's just one of, unfortunately, this happens often. And this is something that we really aim to help IT with the apps part of Signal. So what apps is going to do is you're going to be the first to know when an app goes down. You don't have to wait on IT tickets, frantic Teams chatter. You're going to know quickly that an app that is impacting your students is having an outage or having an incident, so that you can take action and immediately act with confidence. So the data doesn't come, like the data in our app section is not coming from third parties. It's coming directly from our smart agents on your devices. So we're going to know exactly what's going on, who's being impacted, how many students, what schools they're in. So you can really target that communication and make sure that folks know you're aware of the issue, you're working on the issue, here's exactly who's impacted. That's going to, sort of dissipate some of the chaos that ensues when these things happen, and also hopefully save you a lot of headaches having to respond to individual tickets where folks think they're the first to alert you when in fact you're already working on the issue. You'll be able to reduce noise. This comes down to making sure that the right people are notified when these things happen. So you can set global notifications. So you can say, all right, I want this person to be notified if any app goes down in my ecosystem. They're going to be, first line of support. Or you can also set notifications app by app. So the right person will always get the email. It will be an email. So you will get all the information around who's impacted and what's going on in your inbox right away. You don't have to actually come into the system. It's all going to be proactively pushed to you. And then holding vendors accountable. This is huge, not only, after an incident has happened, but during an incident. We've heard from so many of you that some big vendors, like you'll go to them and say, hey, I think there's something going on. They don't acknowledge it right away. Having that data to say, actually, here's exactly what we're seeing, is going to allow you to really hold them accountable both during an incident and then also at the end of the school year, where you'll be able to take a look at the app's performance over the year. And then when you're deciding what you're going to be supporting in the coming years, you'll have all that to really understand how did the app perform, what were the outage patterns like, what is the latency like for this app in general, to make those informed decisions around what you're supporting. And then last but certainly not least is networking and the internet. Something that we've heard from you guys is that the focus has shifted where, during the pandemic and after the pandemic, the focus was so much on at-home connectivity, but we've shifted back, and campus connectivity is really where our IT partners are being held accountable and make sure that folks have the access that they need on campus. This is something that we've heard is challenging to identify when there's gaps in the network, and then also if there are any specific students who are just having generally poor experiences across all of their networks. So what the internet, again, this all comes straight from our agents. So we're not relying on third parties. We're not relying on providers to give us the networking data. This comes straight from our smart agents, straight from your devices. So it gives you a look at how is the actual network performance in real time for my student devices. Being able to see this information grouped both by network, including your campus networks versus off-campus networks. You're going to be able to see this in two different ways. And then also be able to see sort of geographically where are these speed tests happening in my district. This is something that in the beta, folks have, dare I say, had a lot of fun exploring, because you get a good look of where a student's connecting from, maybe places that you didn't expect. And there are oftentimes places that you thought had good network support that don't. And again, this all comes straight off of your devices. And then lastly, Off-campus networking or internet support is maybe less important than it was, but it's still really critical to understand if there are users who just generally leave school and don't have a good connection. So you'll be able to see those users as well and see a user profile with all of their historical data. So you can really just make sure that everyone's got coverage regardless of where they're learning. So that is Signal. There's obviously much more that you could see in a demo. So please you use this QR code, and then we can kind of give you a full tour of what Signal has to offer. I'll leave it here for just a few more seconds. All right, Matt.
All right, thanks, Kate. Well, that's very exciting. Obviously, Signal is going to be something that solves a lot of really big problems for our customers. So, but up next, a product that needs no introduction, a Lightspeed Filter. I think many of you here probably have it already, but of course, it blocks threats and distractions for secure and focused learning. All right, let's take a look at the roadmap. So we've just recently launched our next generation of filtering policies. Hopefully all of you have had a chance to get in there, start taking a look at it, kind of sorting out how you might want to get set up, seeing some of the advantages it provides over the previous sort of classic system. There's a lot more information to come on that, and actually we have some slides dedicated to it. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look yet, we'll be going through that briefly as well. But we have a lot more to come on it. So the reality is that we're not stopping there. We're going to continue to add to it. We're going to continue to bolster it out. We know there's a lot of different edge cases and scenarios that some of you, maybe with more complex environments, are going to need additional pieces in order to have the success we want you to have with it. So we're going to learn about all of that, as well as some of the tools that we're going to be incorporating to help migrate over and make that process even more seamless than it already is today. Coming soon, though, beyond that, we do have agent telemetry reporting. This is something that we're really excited about. We've been incorporating it in all of our software universally for the last 2 years now, starting to really make sure that we can actually get an understanding of what versions are out there, kind of what software they're running on, that kind of thing. And so we're going to make this data available to you. So we're going to be starting with sort of a log, kind of think a web activity log, but for your software. But that's going to be a very exciting piece of data to get access to, because you'll be able to understand when you're doing updates or really anything, a first-time deployment, whatever it might be. All that information is now going to be at your fingertips to be able to kind of slice and dice however you want. We're also bringing forth the next generation of categorization. This is a pretty big thing, and we're very excited about it. We're going to be talking about that pretty high level in its own slide, but that's going to be something that really just continues to make the Lightspeed filter experience really better than ever before. Beyond that, in the future, I mentioned the policy piece. We are looking at some updates to how we manage our software rollout. So I know some of you have had challenges in the past with the restart cycles when you're sort of updating maybe a Windows device or something like that. So we're going to be putting more controls at your fingertips when it comes to managing how those updates roll out, how restarts happen, those kinds of things, to make sure that you have the most seamless experience and the best possible experience, really, managing the Lightspeed filter software. And then I can't forget to mention the last two here: TLD filtering, Vimeo. Lightspeed, we've had some pretty exciting things that we've been working on organizationally, like you just saw with Lightspeed Signal. But we haven't forgotten about these. These are things that we're committed to getting out. But that's just one of the things that innovations like this, really solving these core market problems, sometimes shift things around, like Rob mentioned at the very, very start. But these are still on the way, and we're excited about them as just as much as we were when we first announced them. So thanks for bearing with us on that, and let's talk about policies. So next gen filtering policies, this is out. I mentioned that. So if you haven't seen the release note, or if you haven't had a chance to hop in there, really what this is our new take on how to manage all your policies from one centralized place. So this is really about streamlining the experience, so you're not spending all your time in the group switcher, scoping in and out, in and out, in and out, right? Everything is right in front of you, and you can take that same policy and you could apply it in multiple different places, really to make sure that by making it independent from the groups, you can take advantage of really whatever level of consolidation you feel is appropriate for you. So it's also going to make troubleshooting a lot easier because since policies are their own thing, you can now say, hey, this user gets this policy, as opposed to having this kind of merged set of policies happen where you really didn't know what to expect from one user to another user, just because of the way that the classic system was designed. A lot of flexibility, but it had a trade-off that it made it very complicated and challenging to troubleshoot. Moving on to the next slide, we do have also with this some improvements to our access lists. So you think about the custom list, we've now moved them all into one place, independent of the policies. So really the advantage of this is that now if you want to just manage a single global students, a students list, allow list, or block list, you can do that and you can attach that to those policies. And now you just update that one spot. They all get exactly what they need. And it doesn't matter what's in there. You could put a channel in there. You could put a YouTube video in there, right? You're not managing a bunch of disparate lists, right? These are all really just organized, labeled however the way you want, and then attached to the relevant policies. And you could even independently control them before and after school, which is great. We've streamlined the UI. You'll see that throughout. Please get in there. There's a lot of time savers. And of course, this whole thing has been designed to make sure that it doesn't cause any issues for you to roll it out, right? So you don't need to rush into it. You don't need to roll it out today. You don't need to roll it out this month. Really, this whole thing, no agent changes. You get to just try the new experience when you want. You can go in and configure whatever you want or not. And then when the time comes, you can click the big activate button and get it turned on for your org. And then ultimately roll back if you need to. If there's something's not quite right, it's a worry-free. You can roll back for 60 days. And every time you roll back, that 60-day timer restarts. So really meant to give you the chance to not only build this out in an isolated environment where you're not impacting your students and staff, but also you can try it out, make sure it's working, and know and have confidence that if anything's not right, you can go back to exactly what you had before. You're not losing anything in the process. So please get in there, give it a try. But with that said, we have some more things coming along the way for it. So we have our admin controls, right? This is something when we did the launch, we mentioned in that release note that this is really for owner admins to get in there and to start taking a look and working on that setup. But we know lots of you like to delegate access, right? So when it comes to being able to do maybe a site admin who has, maybe they get to change policies for these specific schools or something along those lines. You'll now have the tools that you need to be able to get that set up. So that way you can have the right people in there making changes to the right policies without inadvertently impacting, maybe schools that they shouldn't. Along with some additional tools on the way for those more complex, setups, right? So some of you maybe have a need where you're managing your policies building by building. And so you're going to be managing your policies in a much more of a bulk scenario. We have tools along the way for that. So really just stay tuned. If there's something in there, reach out to us, let us know what you need, right? We are very much committed all the way through to making sure that you are successful with this new policy system. But also, if it's not ready for you yet, you don't need to switch yet. Just reach out, let us know, and we'll make sure that we get you set up properly. So thank you very much. And yeah, moving on to that, we have the next big exciting thing, which is next gen categorization. A lot of really big projects that we've been able to finally bring to the surface, which is super exciting. Obviously, this is something that we know is going to make really the next generation of using Filter better than ever. And our categorization is a core part of that. So one of the big things we set out to do was figure out how can we make a system that is not only more flexible than ever, so we can continue to tune and tweak the accuracy and make sure that it does exactly what we need, but also build in some more advanced features like how we do our proxy detection, being able to identify libraries, whether it's from Interstellar or some of the other common ones out there, and actually see in the website that it's using these, that it's hosting these. And so we can, determine, regardless of the other content of the page, right, that this is something that is a proxy that needs to be blocked, as well as being able to do things like kick off automatic human review. If the system isn't confident in its choice, or it thinks that maybe it could be this or this, two different categories confidently, we now can actually automate that whole process, really just reducing the effort from all of you, where you're out there, whether it's, you're locally recategorizing contents or you're submitting them for review, really trying to reduce that burden and make sure that we have better than ever accuracy that first time around around so that your experience is just more seamless than ever. One of the first things we're doing with this system, which we're really excited about, is we're actually able to take this and go through and retarget the general category. So this is something that, a lot of you I know have expressed challenges with the general category because things that are in there you need and some things you want to block. And it's a bit of a catch-22 whether you turn it on or off. And so what we're doing is we're churning through all that content and we're making sure that we actually put it in its correct place. So that way you can block that general category and not feel like it's capturing things that you needed to have access to, or vice versa, because all of that content's going to be in its correct location. So more information to come on this soon. This is something we're rolling out and scaling over time. This is more about net new categorizations than kind of changing what we have today, with the exception of the general category. But we're very confident that this is going to really dramatically improve the day-to-day experience with using Lightspeed Filter. So really excited for that. And I guess, Kate, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
So for Lightspeed Insight, for those of you who don't use Lightspeed Insight, obviously Filter needs no introduction, but for Insight, this is our analytics tool focused on your app ecosystem. So things like what apps are in use across your district, being able to manage app approvals, compliance, license management, ROI reporting. There's so much this product does, and I'm excited to kind of walk you through for the current customers what has changed and what's coming. So we've had two, and just like Matt said, the what's new and coming soon features each have their own slides. So I won't go into too much detail, but really we've been focusing mostly recently on approvals and public list management, because we know with all the new regulations coming out around transparency for parents and making sure that everyone knows what apps you've vetted and approved, that it's really critical that you have both a really solid approval process and the ability to publish those apps out for the general public and for staff. So that's been our big focus and stuff that we've released lately. In terms of coming soon, we've got lots of improvements, more improvements to approvals, and then also some really exciting things coming around license management, including advanced app tracking, full URL reporting. For those of you who I've spoken with and talked to this feature, who helped me design this feature, really it's just the ability to dive deeper into apps like Amplify and HMH and Discovery Ed, both so you can look at the ROI of those very expensive digital textbooks and apps, but then also just see the usage at the individual resource level. In terms of what's coming next, these don't have individual slides, so I want to spend most of my time talking about these. Bulk management for licensing. So just in general, we know you guys don't have a lot of time to add things one by one into our system. So giving you the ability to manage licensing in bulk via CSV, both like adding new licenses, editing existing licenses, making small tweaks, like say you want to change the expiration date on all these licenses from August 1st to August 2nd. Just being able to do all that really quickly and not have to go one at a time. App approval workflow assignments. This is something that a lot of you have. I've worked with a lot of folks on trying to understand your current flow for how you're dealing with app approvals. Largely that involves emails, spreadsheets, sometimes IT tickets. And so really trying to understand and give you the flexibility in our system to assign apps to individual people and teams, so you can create the IT team that reviews the privacy policies, the instructional team that looks at the instructional alignment with curriculum, the finance team, and you're going to be able to get those folks into our system just part of this process, so they can just really get like a limited look at the things that they need to know, and then you can assign those apps to those individual folks so that they can mark as approved from their perspective and then kind of kick over to the next team. And then the custom status and forms for approvals, this comes down to, on the custom status side, being able to have more nuanced approval statuses. So you can say, hey, it's approved, but for staff only, or it's not approved, but it was reviewed and denied. That kind of detail, so that is not only in our system for your organization and for your purposes, but also so when you publish those approved apps list out to staff, they know exactly what kind of like that more specific status is and can see that. And then on the form, you guys use Google Forms and all sorts of different ways for staff to put in app requests right now. Every district has a slightly different form from what I've learned. So our system needs to be able to accommodate that customization as well. So you'll be able to create, whatever questions you want staff to answer. If you want staff to upload attachments, if you want staff to answer a question, whatever you need them to provide you to be able to do your review, you'll be able to customize in our system and then get that request form out to staff. So now I'm going to spend some time talking through what is recently come into the product and then also what's coming very soon. So public list expansion, this is a huge huge win for all of you folks that have a need to really give parents and stakeholders a different view of your vetted apps than your teachers. So for example, if you have a requirement or you just want to make sure that your parents are aware of what you vetted, they can have a list that contains just what they need. Maybe it's just approved applications. Maybe it's just a little bit of information on the app. Whereas your staff needs to know much more. They want to know what's in the review process. So they're not requesting apps that you're already looking into. They need to know what you've denied and why. So they're going to be able to see much more detail than the general public. I mean, really, it's up to you. You can set it up however you want. It just depends on what's important to you. It's a very quick process, which is great. And then you can also control where these things are visible. So each list will have and this, by the way, this is out. So each list has its own public link, embed code. You can pick which of these lists goes to Lightspeed Classroom for those of you that are classroom customers. And then you can turn on app requests only for certain lists. This was a huge request from our customers that said, hey, I don't need parents requesting apps for me to review. I just want staff to do that. So you'll be able to just turn that on for the staff list and not the public facing list. And then last but not least, being able to quickly publish apps all at once. So right now, or not right now you can do this. What you'll be able to do is say you approve 50 new apps. You can just do a quick select all and then push those out to whatever list they need to go to versus having to go one at a time. We've also we've heard from you, we sort of reimagined our approval process in January to kind of set the stage for some of those improvements I mentioned on the roadmap slide. And as part of that, of course, whenever we make changes, there's always things that customers come back and say, hey, I kind of missed this feature, or I really needed to do this. So we were able to address those quickly. There were two things that you guys wanted that we were able to get into the product. One, being able to quickly filter between approval statuses. So the previous version, you could kind of tab through and see you're in review, you're not approved, you're approved very easily. That's back. We have a quick filter now. You can see that in the first screenshot. So you'll be able to navigate between those very easily. And the second was the ability to filter for apps without attachments. This comes down to a lot of districts wanting to attach DPAs and privacy agreements to their approvals. Which makes perfect sense. And so being able to filter by apps without attachments allows you to say, okay, I've got 50 apps that I still need to upload a DPA to. And again, if that's connected to your public list, it's obviously important that that's all there for whatever regulations that you may be needing to meet. So here's what's coming soon. Bulk management for approvals. I mentioned this with licensing. Approvals is actually coming first. Very straightforward process. We're going to give you a template. And you're going to be able to, do two things. One, just get a bunch of stuff into our system. So if you're a new customer, you've got 500 apps that are already in your process. You can just get those into our system very quickly. Or if you want to edit what you have currently, we had one customer that wanted to change several thousand apps from one status to another. This is going to allow you to do that in a matter of minutes. You would just download your list, change that status, re-upload. The system would just be able to take care of that for you. So it's going to save you a ton of time. And especially in cases where you have specific grades. So if you've got certain apps that are approved for only certain age groups, you'll be able to very, very quickly, specify which grades each of these apps is approved for, add things like, your district description, your approval comments, any kind of custom information that you have per individual app. You'll be able to just get into the system very, very quickly via CSV. Downloading app activity by school. This is another feature that came from you guys. Something that we learned is that a lot of you need to report out on app activity, not just district-wide, but also school by school. And having to go one school at a time and download a file is not something that folks, need to be spending time on. So this feature is coming out very, very soon in the next couple of weeks, where you're going to have another option in app activity where you can say, if you look at the screenshot, the third option, generate report with data by campus. So say you want to report out on, hey, show me what every school was doing over the last 6 months. I want to see in school only. You just choose your filters, choose your date range, select that third option, and then you're going to get a CSV that's broken out by school. So you can report up to leadership, and just look campus by campus to see how that performance is. Advanced app tracking, I'm very excited about this one. It's something that a lot of you have, on the instructional side, have really been looking for and needed a solution for, which is expanding our app coverage to these families of apps that historically have been hard to track. Things like Amplify, IXL, that have individual resource areas for math, ELA, Spanish, history. You'll now be able to license apps at a more granular level and just look at app activity at a more granular level. So you can actually compare resource to resource, ELA to math. And if you've purchased within a certain family of apps, only specific things. So if within HMH, you've only purchased certain books, textbooks, you'll be able to just like get a lot more granular, and that ROI reporting will be even more specific and helpful to you. And speaking of ROI reporting, this is kind of the last coming soon item. We are also making our license management and ROI system easier, more flexible, and just generally improving it. So, one, making it easier to add licenses and more flexible. So we know that you guys, in a lot of cases, need to add licenses by grade level. Maybe you've bought licenses for elementary schools, or certain things are just for staff, like a classroom management product. You'll be able to put your licensing in that specific way. You'll be able to add notes, include PO numbers. And this is all just going to be from what we've heard from you guys, just making sure that our system reflects exactly how you're purchasing. And then also just making that faster by suggesting license counts and suggesting pricing and making a lot of that easier for you guys. And then on the reporting side, being able to compare last year to this year more easily. That's really big if you want to see what's going on year over year, especially for like 3-year contracts. And then identifying wasted funds more easily. So we're going to introduce some metrics that we know you're currently running these numbers in Excel. We don't want you to do that. We want this all to be in our system. So we've got a couple new metrics: unused license cost, percentage used, unused. You'll be able to quickly say, okay, only 10% of these licenses have been used this year. And then the unused license cost is X amount, $50,000. Just getting that number out of our system is going to save you a lot of time and be able to prove or show that ROI and decision making more quickly. All right, MDM. So I don't think MDM needs much of an introduction either. This is our mobile management system, for those of you who don't know. In terms of recent releases, we have full DDM support, which is very exciting. We introduced return to service, just making it easier for you to get your devices wiped and back out to a different student or back out into use. And then Safari extension settings, so the ability to manage those Safari extensions directly within our MDM and then push those out to your fleet. Those are all things that have come out recently. And then in terms of what's coming out soon, we've got 2 exciting features. One, supporting multiple custom profiles from Apple Configurator. This is going to give you day 0 support of anything new that Apple comes out with. It's going to allow you to get all of that into our system and out to your fleet very quickly. And then software update settings, you'll be able to control when those software updates take place across your fleet. So you have control over that within our MDM system. All right, Matt, handing it over to you.
All right. Yeah. So there's always a lot of things in motion for agents and platform, right? Lots of different versions coming out, whether it's bug fixes or new features or those kinds of things. However, some of the big highlights I want to just go over here quickly. First and foremost, make sure you have your V3 manifest extensions out there, right? So these were rolled out a couple months ago now with a new extension ID. So that way people could time that rollout whenever they needed to. Please make sure you have them. That deadline is upon us from Google. So just make sure you're set up for success there. Go in, double check that it's all in the UI. So if you go to your software setup, go to your page there, you'll see the new extension IDs in there, as well as the old ones if you need them for some reason. And then, of course, the instructions and whatnot. You can also check out the release note for more information there. We also had launched our Require SSO. So this is something that we've been working on for a little bit. This is a great thing to take a look at as you're rolling into the next school year when it comes to just making sure you have a more secure environment. So setting up that you're actually requiring logons to be through, whether it's through your Google or Microsoft, whatever it may be. Ultimately, just avoiding the sort of the base sign-on type that doesn't use MFA or anything like that. Coming soon, we do have ARM support for Windows. This is going to come out first for Filter, but it will be coming to our other products as well, of course. So this is something I know a lot of device refreshes are happening. Some have already happened. There's a lot of really exciting new Snapdragon or other types of systems out there that are on ARM. And so, that's something we want to make sure our software works flawlessly for that. We're nearly to a point where we have release candidate available. So stay tuned if you're looking to do ARM devices for this next cycle of your devices, because that will be coming out, and we'll need folks to give us feedback and make sure it's all working as well as we want it to. So keep an eye on that there. And then, of course, we've talked about this before, but as we sort of look to the future, we are continuing to grow and work on more of our data integrations, whether it's with other sync sources or services, or otherwise find new and better ways as a platform to make that data more available to you, have better ways to manage your guardians, and then, of course, extending that ARM support further, even for our smart shields. So that's been something that's come up from quite a lot of folks as we're trying to continue to expand how flexible our software is across your fleet. So lots of cool things coming. There's so much more than just that, but those are the highlights as we're sort of looking through to the next back to school cycle. Thank you. Rob, over to you.
All right. Before we go on to this, we've got a number of questions, and in consideration of time, we're not going to be able to get to all of these, but we will follow up with everybody individually after the webinar to make sure that you get your questions answered. Some things will be coming in the second half webinar as well. I'm going to give you a QR code in a minute to encourage everybody to sign up for that. But one question I did want to address, because there were several questions about it, Kate, is iOS support for Signal.
Yes. So the answer is yes. There will be iPad iOS support for Signal coming this summer, before back to school, which is very exciting. So that's an easy one to answer. The answer is yes. And currently, just so you all know, because I didn't mention this, we have support on Chrome, Windows, and Mac. And then we also have helper extensions for Mac and Windows, covering both Chrome and Edge.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if we didn't answer your specific question, please, we will follow up with you and make sure you get the answers you're looking for. I know there were several questions about Signal with maybe some specific use cases, so we'll make sure your account team, understands those use cases, and we can help you understand how to make Signal solve that problem for you. Okay, moving on. As we go into summer, it is an opportunity for, I don't want to say things slow down for you, but there's some more flexibility in your schedule. And so we typically want to ensure that we have training available during these times. And so there's several opportunities here for you. We have live sessions. We have summer PD for teachers using Classroom, one-on-one sessions, and the quarterly product updates. So for any of those, the QR codes are on the screen. We'll leave that up for just a minute while you can grab those and sign up for one or all of these events. All right. Lightspeed Champions, if you are not aware of this program, I want to make sure I get a chance to plug this. So this is a little selfish on my side, because on your side, we give you, there's some welcome gifts and opportunities to attend events or charity donations or things like that. But the one I'm really interested in, and Kate and Matt will probably agree with me, is that third bullet point there. Early access to products and beta testing and feedback. We depend on all of you to help us design and test and make sure our products are meeting your needs. And so, and many of you on this call, I know we've worked with in the past, but if this isn't something that you've been a part of and would like to, we would love to have this opportunity to work with you and let you see things that we're thinking about or products that we're testing, and take that early access. It really, really helps us on the product side. So I ask all of you to go ahead and sign up for that using the QR code on the screen. And then finally, oh, that's okay, Kate. And then finally, we mentioned this a couple times, but this is part one. So please join us for part two, where we'll be talking about the remaining products. And that QR code is on the screen. That webinar will be June 4th at 10 a.m. All right. We already took the couple of questions. And again, some of the others are more specific. So we will follow up with you individually to make sure you get your answers. But thank you all for joining us on this webinar. And we got to show the champions code again. Kate, will you
Oh,
bounce back to that?
let me go back.
Thank you. All right. We also will, follow up with the slides and recordings, so you'll have an opportunity if you didn't catch it there. But thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you all either on the Signal highlight tomorrow or on the part two of the webinar on June 4th. Thanks, everyone.